Hello, thanks for joining and clicking on my video today because I believe it's gonna inspire you to be a better mom and a better wife because I think it'll inspire you. Wow. I'm gonna be sharing with you guys 4 books that have really impacted my life and helped me to become a better mom and wife. I mean, I've read a lot of books, but these ones I chose because I don't know, they just had an impact on me. So the first one is Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. This is the first book that I want to talk about because I just finished reading it. It is so good. Talking about boundaries, which affects every part of our life. So this book helped me to really understand what boundaries are, why they're important, and how to use boundaries in my life so that it can benefit me to have deeper relationships with people around me, people that are important to me, and to have a stronger why behind everything that I do in my life. So what I understood from it is that boundaries, whether visible or non-visible, wow, the leaves are so beautiful. Wow, that's pretty. Okay. Boundaries are like a fence or a hedge or a wall or, a sign. They all say the same message. And the message is, this is where my property begins. So wherever that line is drawn or that fence is standing, it's showing that I am responsible for everything that is in this boundary, and whatever happens here, I'm responsible for. Non-owners are not responsible for it. That's a physical boundary. An invisible boundary is lines that define us, define who we are, what is important to us, what we value, what we stand for, what we're okay with, what we can handle. That is an invisible boundary line, and that is something that we need to get very clear on and understand where we do draw a line in all kinds of areas in our life. So this is what explains what those lines look like, how it looks like when you don't have lines at all or boundaries, the invisible boundaries, and what a life could look like when you do have healthy, appropriate boundaries in your life. And so it really helped me to understand when to say yes, when to say no, when it's hard to say no, but I know I need to. And you start giving with a cheerful heart. Another cool phrase in the book that I loved, it says that if you can't give with a cheerful heart, then you don't have to. No one's forcing you to give of your time, give of your energy, your effort in serving other people if you're not doing it cheerfully. And the Bible is clear about that too. Give with a cheerful heart. You don't want to do things and then become resentful doing them, Next one is called Pure Joy. I was reading this book when I was pregnant with my first daughter, and this is all about, it teaches about the power of blessing your children and even kids when they're in your womb, or babies when they're in your womb. You can speak blessing over them, and just the power of our words and blessing, especially when it's backed up with scripture, and the power that it has, because there have been examples in this book of all kinds of examples and from the Bible of kids that were blessed from the womb, how it impacted their entire life. From childhood to adulthood, their entire life is impacted just by a blessing. And so I also love that in this book, there's a lot of practical blessings that you could repeat and just speak over your children, your child, or really anyone in your life that is close to you and you want to bless them. Actually, anyone. You can bless anyone. But this book specifically focuses more on the children. So it was a great example, and I loved reading that and blessing my children. I need to start doing that more. It's been a while. I need to do that. But that was huge for me when I was pregnant. Another big one, very popular book, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Absolutely love this book. This was one of the first ones I've read back in the day, but it was a little bit complex. It covers so many different things, but I'm just going to choose a couple favorite things that I liked from it because it's hard to put this all into one summary. But basically, it's the habits that you create to become a very effective person. One of my favorite things in the book, and this is how it starts off, is talking about a paradigm and a paradigm shift. A paradigm is how you see the world, how you see a situation or a thing. And the paradigm shift is shifting that paradigm. Pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Sounds so smart though, paradigm shift. So a paradigm shift is where you look at the same thing, but you're choosing to see it in a different way, or you're willing to look at it from a different perspective, even though it's the same exact object, situation, or picture, and you're just seeing it with a different eye, because you could look at the same thing and see a lot of different things or completely opposite things. I want to read a quote about that, actually. Many people experience similar fundamental shift in thinking when they face a life-threatening crisis and suddenly see their priorities in a different light, or when they suddenly step into a new role such as that of husband or wife, parent or grandparent, manager or leader. That is so true. Like, think about it. You can be in the same situation, but then one thing changes and you start to see everything different. You see your kids in a different light. You see the world in a different way. Like, your values change just from like a change in role or whatever. So that was just a quick example. It also gives an example of time management, and I'll put up the little grid that he has in the book. And it's like 4 boxes of different ways that we all use up our time. And it's just kind of crazy because there's urgent and non-urgent things that are important, and there's also non-urgent things and urgent things that are not important. Sounds kind of complicated and confusing, but just look at this graph or this picture and look at the activities that are in there. Like, we all do some or all of these things. And it's like, the question here is like, do you know the difference? Do you know how to prioritize them? And in the book, he kind of teaches, you know, to know the differences, to know how to prioritize them, and to know where are you spending most of your time, and like make changes if you need to support what you actually say that you value. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap character. Sow character, reap a destiny. It's good. Oh man, look how much I underline. So much. It's so good. Continual education. We have to like stir up our mind and our brain sometimes. Otherwise we become stagnant and just like, we're not growing. Watch. Education. Continuing education, continuing honing and expanding the mind is vital mental renewal. Sometimes it involves the external discipline of the classroom or study programs. More often, it does not. Proactive people can figure out many things, many ways to educate themselves. Lots of good stuff in this book. It'll blow your mind. They're all good, but this last one, it was, I think, the first book that really got me. It's called Miracle Morning. It got me on this path of loving my life, being excited to wake up the next morning, because the most important skill that you can learn is to control the habits that you create and the habits that you have. Obviously, it's talking about your mornings and your morning routine and the importance of getting up before you really have to do a couple things. In his case, or in this case of the book, 6 things, little practices that he really encourages. Hal Elrod is the author, for you to do every single morning, and it's going to improve basically every area of your life. And that is sitting in silence, reading, affirmations, visualization, journaling, and exercise. He goes into depth talking about each one of these and just like why they're so important. And this book really helped me to understand 2 things. First of all, it helped me to understand the power of small beginnings and the power of small habits. That is the foundation of all successful people. And until you understand this, there's no way you're going to climb any kind of ladder or grow in any way, because people that want to jump ahead fall, I think. There's no shortcuts in life, is what I'm trying to say. You start small, and for something to get really a part of you, you can't take a big bite size of anything. You have to start with a small bite and work your way up, you know? And so another thing that it helped me to realize is how much is actually in my control. There's a lot that's in my control, where before I used to blame everything and everyone for everything that was wrong in my life. It was so much easier, and it felt, no. It was easier, but it was not the answer. It was keeping me very, very stuck for years, you know? And so I started to realize, wow, I have so much more control of my life than I ever imagined, which starts with waking up early and doing a couple things that will have such a huge impact on everything else. So why not do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Okay, check out this quick little quote. Why did you bother getting out of bed this morning? Think about it for a second. Why do you wake up most mornings? Why do you leave the comfort of your warm, cozy bed? Is it because you want to? Or do you delay waking up until you absolutely have to? Interesting questions, right? I think they're very good questions to ask ourselves because we all wake up the next day, but imagine waking up like it's Christmas morning every day of your life. Imagine the feeling. Like instead of dreading waking up, being so excited, you get up before your alarm. That's what this book is about. So good. Naturally, we rebel. We hit the snooze button and we resist inevitable act of waking up, unaware that our resistance is actually sending a message to the universe that we'd rather lay in our beds, unconscious, than consciously and actively live and create the lives we say that we want. Get this book. Anyway, so that's this book. Mornings are so important. Okay, that was it. There's more books, you guys, but these ones just really stood out to me and I thought I'd share them with you. There's actually one more. I don't have it with me, but I think it's called Disciplining with Love and Logic. If you're a parent, man, highly recommend this book. I should do a whole review on just that book. It had a huge impact in the way that I raise my children today. Disciplining with Love and Logic. Forgot the author. I'll link it below though. Anyway, these are great books that you want to gift to someone maybe. I will link all of these books in the description. And if this video was helpful, give it a like. If you like this kind of stuff, then subscribe to more videos coming soon. And I think I'm done. All right. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.